Welcome to Cars on Call. I am automotive journalist Steve Schutz. I'm here with trauma surgeon Dr. Stephan Moran. We're the only car podcast that has a trauma surgeon, and he talks about his knowledge because Stefan, you have done research on car accidents or car crashes, sorry, and you have
At least
operated
you
on
didn't
many.
say accidents. Yeah, they're
I
not.
know
They're not. They're not. Yeah, car crashes, MVCs,
collisions,
motor vehicle collisions. They're not
yeah,
crashes. They're collisions.
and I mean, sadly that it happens, but happily that you were there. You've operated and saved many trauma victims, including car crash victims. So, you don't want to be in a car crash or have other trauma. But if you have a really good trauma surgeon, well, that's what you need, and it's good.
Yep, you can defy the odds if you're lucky.
We're going to talk
Looks.
about convertibles. It's summer, it's hot. Everyone wants to have the top down. Everyone's like uncomfortable. And we're going to talk about convertibles. We're going to talk about convertibles we love. There's a lot of convertibles I love. And then we're going to talk trauma surgeon safety. We always have a safety topic from our trauma surgeon. I had a very interesting car spotting. It was pretty spectacular, and I'll talk about that. And then we're going to hear a little bit of trauma surgeon experience story. Who knows? So who knows what it is,
Mm.
but it's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm wearing the appropriate hat. Jerry of the day. Send it. So that we'll talk about one of my patients who sent it.
Bubba and Budweiser, isn't that the
Yeah.
combination that
Yeah.
causes
Hey, you're
trauma?
stealing my story. B squared, absolutely. Bubba and Budweiser. Trauma surgeon security.
All
Job
right.
security, man.
Before we get into anything, you are in possession of a ERA Cobra and you are finishing it. How's that looking?
It is looking fantastic. And actually today, that is part of my story for trauma surgeon safety. But
It's
I
your
will,
psychological trauma.
yeah, it's I'll share a picture here. We'll just do one. But the car has come along great. I probably have got at least 80 hours of work doing the wiring harness, the electronic fuel injection harness, and it has been absolute joy. There we go. I got all of the wiring done. I got the dynamat installed, but little details that just to show you, this is a picture of the engine. It is a 8 stack, so it's got 8 carburetors. This is what looking here, but so when I put in the heater lines, I wanted to go authentic to period. So if you blow it up, I did not want any cable ties. So let me see if I can blow this up. But I'm using this aircraft grade wax tape to tie things together, which you can see here on the wiring harness for the spark wires has
Yeah.
got it on the heater
Yeah.
hose. So very clean, neat, period correct kind of installation. But today I dropped it off at Walker Morgan's down in Birmingham, who is you know what, let me see. I gotta pull pictures. This guy is an absolute artist. And we were talking about his work that he does and my work and I said, "Well, yeah, and he tends to overthink things, but his work is absolutely spectacular." And I said, "Well, you're just like a trauma surgeon." He goes, "How's that?" I said, "Well, every patient that I did, nobody breaks, gets cut, or blown up in the same way. I had to make shit up on every patient. You just have to look at it, figure it out, and make shit up. So this is his motor in his truck. This is an LS motor with a turbocharger and a supercharger. And if you
Wow.
look in here, every single thing that is metal in this car, he made by hand. This pipe here, these collectors, the headers, all these little containers, everything is made by hand by this guy. He is an absolute artist. So this car of his, this is his personal hot rod, has a supercharger and a turbocharger. Um, but the handiwork, look at this work that he did on an
Wow. It's
expansion
beautiful.
box. Yeah, and look at his weld lines. So he is, and look at these pipes that he got welded together. It's unbelievable. So I
What's his
dropped the
name
coat.
again? And what's the name of the
It's
shop?
Walker Morgan Fabrication, or Morgan Walker. He's got two first names or two last names, however you want to look at it. But it's Walker Morgan Fabrication. He's in Birmingham, and The other car that you would love to see that he has in here, let me go back to pictures. This is really cool. I'd never seen one of these in real life. Share. Let me go here. He has let me get a JDM
Wow.
GTR, and he is working on the turbocharger on this for a customer because the turbocharger kind of burn up, need replaced. So he's having to make some parts to make the turbocharger fit. This is an original color of purple. That was original of those cars, and this is a Japanese. It's right-hand drive, but just a spectacular car. And I absolutely love these Skyline GTRs. I think they are just so cool.
It
Um,
looks like the R32 generation. Um, our
uh,
former our former guest, Andy Troy, would absolutely know which generation it is, but it's really
yep,
beautiful.
it's got the RB26 engine in it, one of the greatest engines of all time. So very cool guy, and he's got some ideas, and he's gonna put in the custom exhaust on the Cobra.
Amen. Well, that'll be another milestone when that's done. So
Absolutely,
congratulations.
yeah,
Let's talk convertibles. I
yeah.
guess I'll go first. No, you should go first because we're doing trauma surgeon after this. But we,
Okay.
we just said let's come up with the five favorite convertibles because it's hot, and there's some convertibles over time we've loved. Let me tell you a funny story, Stefan, before you get into yours. I kind of hate convertibles. And the reason is my dad, when I was a kid, always had convertibles. And he liked to put the top down a lot, even in the winter. And he would sit up front and he had the heater, and the kids were in back with no heater. So he froze. And sometimes he would not put the top up when it was raining. It would be a cold rain. And we're back there practically huddling for body warmth. And again, he was, it's not like he didn't care, but he didn't know. And he's comfortable with the heater. He assumed we were okay, I guess. But I just hated convertibles. Plus all the wind, and you get junk that, the leaves and things get back there in the back seat. So on the one hand, convertibles are heaven if you're in the front seat, and they can be hell if you're in the back seat. So I don't even like a sunroof.
I
Um,
think I'm with you there. I think convertibles are best enjoyed by the driver and the driver alone.
yeah, even
It's
the
like I don't want to
passengers
get on the
don't
back
like
of
it.
a motorcycle. I like riding a motorcycle. I don't want to be on the back of one.
Yeah,
I think convertibles are very much like that. It's because it's the driver who's getting the full analog, wind in the hair experience. And I'm not a big fan of riding in a convertible. I'd rather have the top up, AC in my face, and listen to nice music. But if
that's
I'm the
it.
driver, you're engaged. Now, was your dad smoking Pall Malls, no filters at the same time?
No, he would never expose
Viceroys?
us. He would never expose us to that. He smoked cigars.
Oh, yeah,
Then he switched to
absolutely.
a pipe, but
Uh,
mostly it was cigars. And that's nasty smoke. Yeah, oh yeah.
oh my
Uh,
God, yeah, the
The
cigars are
problem
so
wasn't the
nasty.
smoke. The problem was the ashes would go back and get in our eyes.
Yeah,
Life, life in the 70s, Stefan.
yeah, we grew up tough in the 70s. Yep.
Yeah.
The kids these days, they have no idea how tough it was back then.
All right, let me get to my list. And again, I'd
All
love
right.
to be in the driver's seat, but
I
these
thought
are
I was
all
going
cars.
first. I thought I was going first because I'm doing safety afterwards. You
You
go
are
first.
going first. That's what I
I am going
meant.
first. All right, you ready? Okay. All right.
Looks,
All
it
right.
feels like I'm drinking wine. I'm not. You're the one drinking wine.
Absolutely, man. At the end of a great day, I'm retired. That's
Amen.
like I'm not
I
working anymore.
saw, I gave a Jim Hardebeck, who retired emergency room physician, and my daughter-in-law's father, great guy. He, I sent him this shirt and he ordered it immediately, and it says "out of office forever." He loved it. He immediately bought. I sent him a picture, and he immediately bought it. So when I saw him, we had dinner together. I don't know, 6 weeks ago or something, and he had the shirt. He said, "Steve, I got the shirt."
Awesome. It's perfect. Yep.
All right,
All right, so
let's hear your
there's
five.
gonna be a little bit of theme. All right, so here are my five favorite convertibles. Here's this is a
I know at
1939.
least ones. I know what two are going to be. So all right,
Yeah,
let's
I
hear
know you do. Yeah, this is a 1939 Delahaye Type 195, and this to me is from the era, this late 30s era of custom carrosserie, where you basically like a Duesenberg in America, you bought the frame and the motor, and then you hired a private coach builder to build kind of your dream car on this. And it was in France, there was Pagani and Ficini and all these De La Haye, even Bugatti. These were mostly all one-off type bodies, but here this was the era of aerodynamics and airplanes and men flying. And these cars were so curvaceous, and this is why we'll end up with my very favorite at the end. But I love a car with no flat surfaces and all curves. This is to me, this is just it's absolutely this is a breathtaking car to see in person. They're gigantic. But I love this car. Is one of my all-time favorites of that and of this era. This is my all-time favorite. And then
It's
moving,
very Art Deco.
yes,
It's
it's Art Deco.
incredibly showy. I mean, this is a fashion accessory more than it is a car. It's certainly not transportation. And this would have been a car that came out maybe, I'm trying to think of
1939. Yep.
what, there were maybe Dershevos back then. I mean, they were very rudimentary cars. Most people didn't have a car. And imagine, I mean, the wealth, the status to have this car is incredible.
Yeah, this is like you expect to see Clark Gable riding in the front of this. This
Down
is
in
that
Saint-Tropez.
in San Tropez, exactly. But when you see, we were at Pebble Beach and they had a whole bunch of this era car, and they're to me, this is automotive sculpture. It is the height of workmanship to think these panels were all hand beaten. This is not drawn on CAD CAM, but they're just breathtaking pieces of art to me. And kind of keeping the same French theme, here's my next one. This is
Oh, of
a this
course.
is this is a Chaperon, Henri Chaperon DS convertible. And these are coveted in the car collection world. The DS, when it first came out, was a groundbreaking design. This is a car that's got hydropneumatic suspension, hydropneumatic brakes. It was a very advanced car for the time. And I love the four door. There were four doors, but Chaperon converted these to two-door convertibles. I mean, just look at it. It's unbelievable. It's just gorgeous.
It's
This one has
beautiful.
this wild plum interior. So these are kind of my out of reality favorite convertibles of all time. Now I'll bring us back to reality, and then here's it. You probably guess this one. This is a 1999 B Series Miata, which I have one of these. I couldn't find a picture of my own car, but it's red like this, but I got black cloth interior. The reason I picked this convertible is 50s, 60s convertibles were big. English cars, the MGs, the Bs, the Triumphs, the Spitfires, the Austin Healys, the 3000s. Then convertibles went away pretty much in America. There was an occasional Eldorado convertible, but there really weren't many. But when Miata came back, and what was it, 90 when it was first released? Jeff would know.
It was, yeah, 1980. It was a 1990 model year is when it
Year
was released.
the desire for convertibles came back, and this reignited automotive convertible manufacturing around the world. So for me, this is this B series, so it's not the first one, but that's why I think the Miata is so special. They still make it today. They've held true to the theme. There's no better car value dollar wise than a Mazda Miata. It gives you everything you need in a convertible. If you want a convertible, this is where you go. Rock solid, they handle great. So I think not only do I think it's a beautiful design, but the importance it has to the resurgence of convertibles around the world. Every convertible that if you own a convertible that's modern, you owe it to Mazda to bring in the convertible out when they were pretty much gone from the showroom. And then we got to go a little bit back here. All right, absolutely. Back to American steel. A Lincoln Continental four-door suicide convertible. This to me is I don't know, 16 feet of American chrome steel at its very finest. And I just could see myself cruising in this thing, three people in the front, three kids in the back, eating ice cream, just going on a boulevard cruise. This to me is the ultimate cruiser convertible. I've always loved these. I like it more than the Eldorado Biarritz with the big fins in the back. To me, it's just it's elegant. It's what do they call the Japanese call shibumi, where it's understated elegance. There's just fine little bits of chrome. I do like the big white wall. So absolutely, I watch these things. They're expensive. They're like 50 to 70,000 on Bring a Trailer. So they're still out of my price range for owning one of these. And I'd have to build another shop to park the thing. But absolutely love this car. Right.
These were, by the way, a reaction to the excesses of, um, Harley Earl and GM and especially Cadillac, the fins and the chrome, and they were so garish. And I think that Ford and Edsel Ford in particular, they, I think it was Edsel Ford. Anyway, he was in charge of the design of this vehicle, and he wanted understated elegance. It was a reaction to the Cadillac, and as a result, this was so successful. Everybody switched from all that ostentation to more understated elegance. It changed the whole luxury car world, this car, because it was so well done.
I mean, take a look at this front bumper if you're on YouTube or if you're just listening, pull it up. The bumper is shaved and tight to the body. It doesn't stick out. It's the little details like this that a car of this size is just, it's purely elegant. Very different from the Dillahide that I showed. But to me, this is, Japanese elegance. It's understated. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I love that car.
Yep.
And then, of course, my number one favorite convertible in the whole world is going to be a Cobra. This was my first Cobra with my oldest daughter, Caitlin.
That's a great
She,
picture.
yeah, she was probably 4 at the time. This was a 427 SC replica from Unique. I found it at a great price and kept it 4 years, redid it and sold it. And it was not the Cobra I dreamed of, but now I have my dream Cobra. And here's a picture of my ultimate convertible. This is a 427 Street, but it's a narrow hip Cobra. There were only 32 out of 220 street cars that were narrow hip, and mine is one of two replicas that I know in existence that are narrow hip replicas. There are no others. They've never been made. No one's ever done them, and my car is the second only that I'm aware of. So that makes me in a world of Cobra replicas and originals. There's only 34 narrow hip cars, and I've got one of them, even though
Less
it's a
is more,
replica.
Stefan, and I think that,
Yes.
I feel the same way about 911s. If you have a narrow body, it's better than the wide body. I think less is more, it's more understated. I think it just looks better. And let's face it, the reason you need those really wide tires is usually for the street. Well, nobody needs that on the road.
Right. Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
plenty of capability. So I love it. I love the color. I've said this before. The color is beautiful.
It is a absolutely, and it's a one-off color that I had mixed to the what I wanted that Ron Randall Metamorphosis mixed it for me because I could not find. Interesting. I think I already talked about it, but when you do paint for a car, it's not like going to Sherwin-Williams where you can say add a little more of this, add a little more of that to get the perfect color. They actually have to go to a registry, a database, and they pull up the mixture. So you can't tell them I want that blue a little bit darker, add some black. They can't do it if it's not in the database. So they mixed my paint color with 4 different paints to get the color I wanted. And when he scanned it, the best match he could find in the registry was 70% match. So that tells you how different my color blue with some green and black in it is different from every other color. There's no color that the only color closest color ever made is only 70% of mine, which is I was very happy to know that.
It's beautiful. All right, I'll go through mine. And mine, my childhood and youth was more Mopar and Chrysler products. We always had Plymouths or Dodges. And the first one there it's a 1970 Hemi Cuda. And I've always liked, what's funny about this? Basically 0% of muscle cars back in the day drove around like this car is pictured with
Dog dish hubcaps.
hubcaps and steel wheels.
Yeah.
They were all switched, Krager wheels or other
The 5-spoke
aftermarket wheels.
Krager.
They went on immediately. You never saw cars like this. Well, now, all these years later, this is the only way you see them.
Yeah, I love those dog dish hubcaps with the painted rims. And what I'll tell you what another cool feature. if you can see it, they brought the exhaust tips out the lower valence on the rear end. That's a cool
Yes.
detail to me. That's a very nice detail that some designer at Chrysler Dodge said, you know what? I don't care that it costs extra to do that. That's the way we're doing it. And that to me is that's really that's a nice detail.
This particular design of the Plymouth Barracuda came out in 1970. It was a direct response to the Mustang, which came out in 64, and then the Camaro, which I think came out in 66. So this was a reaction to that to try to compete with them. And of course, the Dodge Challenger, which kind of weirdly is like a little bit longer, like the wheelbase is a little bit longer in the Challenger. So anyway, this is a Hemi. Most people
Yeah,
got Hemi got it to drag race. So if you drag race, there's no way you're going to get a convertible. So they made
right.
like 12 of these. They're all worth about $2 million. This
Oh,
one in
geez.
particular is like 2.2 million.
Wow.
It's kind of ridiculous. Go ahead and scroll down. You'll see the front view. Whoops.
Oh, there you go.
See the front view. And again, it's a
What
$2 million car, which is just kind of crazy.
what's that yellow called in Mopar world? Is it
Uh, I
they had funny
forgot.
name they had funny names for their colors.
I totally forgot. Lemon squeeze or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had, plum crazy for the purple and just all these other crazy names. And this was lemonicious or something. Next is a 1968 Dodge Polara convertible. This is one my dad
Whoa,
had.
that's a weird one.
My dad was black. And
Oh, this is what you got the burnt cigar ashes in your eyeballs in the back of?
yes, well, it was for all of them, right? So, whenever he had a Chrysler 300 that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's a nice car.
Um, Yeah, but they all were convertibles and we all got the ashes and wind in the back. But it's a good looking car. This Dodge Polara, I'll tell you a funny story about ours. We only kept it like a year because my parents left some milk back there and then it went bad and they could never get the smell out. So my dad finally got rid of it because of the smell. And of course, being in the back seat, we would smell that smell. So it was just awful. It was a great car until that happened. And very famously, the Chrysler 300, which I think was in 1969, it replaced this. A tree fell on it, a huge tree fell on it. And if you see the picture, you assume everyone in the car was killed because we were driving into our driveway when this tree fell on us. I don't remember anything about it, but we were all unharmed, which is a miracle if you see the picture. And I got into Car and Driver for the 10 best accidents because I had a picture and we were all okay. And
Wow.
it was just this, it was definitely, the hand of God saving us because the car was crushed, but somehow the way that branches went into the car, it didn't hit anybody.
That's
Most of it
crazy.
went in between the front and rear seats.
Wow.
Miracle.
Hey,
All
by the
right,
way,
next one,
by the way, I looked it up. This color yellow is called top banana.
top banana. All right, there you
Top
go.
banana. Yep.
Love it. All right, so there's the Dodge Polara with the top up,
That's a
and
good
then
looking car. It's about the same era as a Galaxy 500.
yeah,
It looks very nice. I like it.
you can imagine a young couple. The man's wearing a thin tie, maybe
Yep.
of course having a blazer like a herringbone tweed, and he's got his hair slicked back like in the Mad Men show, and the woman probably has like a scarf around her hair.
Yep. Love it.
And then next is, of course,
Oh yeah, good call.
this is the most beautiful car in the world. Therefore, or best, I think it's the most beautiful car.
Tell listeners what it is. We all can those watching can see it.
1965 Jaguar E-Type convertible. So the Series One.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
Uh, I believe that the Jaguar E-Type is the first generation. Series One was the most beautiful car ever made,
I
and
believe. I agree.
for that reason, the convertible is the most beautiful convertible ever made.
Yep.
Yeah,
No
it's
argument there.
so
Unbe
yeah.
I remember the very first time I saw a Jag E-Type. It was in our neighborhood. One of the fighter pilots drove one home. And I remember it's kind of like the first time I saw a Cobra in real life. This image is forever imprinted in my brain. It was in O'Fallon, Illinois. We lived on Rebecca Drive. And he lived he was on the street next to us, but kind of at a T intersection. We can see their driveway. And I remember seeing that Jag E-Type, and I'm like, just I was mesmerized. And you can and seeing this car in 1965, what it would look like back then. Even today, it's stunning, but back then it was like, whoa.
It uniquely captures an era and it combines beauty and design and luxury and charisma and personality and sex and money. And it mixes them all together
Yep.
and you just have to stare.
It screams Steve McQueen coolness,
Yeah,
you know? Yeah.
yeah, with everything that means.
Yep.
I
All
think I
right.
got another picture of it. There it
Oh
is, and
yeah.
it looks great. It looks great in any color. I think it looks best in probably looks best in British Racing green, but it looks pretty
Yeah,
good in red.
yep, yep.
Um,
Oh,
I this I
interest.
picked. This was like this is a chick car, 1990. This is late 1980s Volkswagen Rabbit Cabriolet. It's the classic chick car, cute girl in high school or college. Her dad bought it for her, and she drives around with her friends. But I always thought it worked because this is not a rich kid car. This is just an 80s, it's a 70s design, but this car wasn't introduced in America until
Yeah.
the 80s. But it just is cute and kind of innocent and likable in a way that I found refreshing and very attractive.
I'm gonna show the one thing I do like these cars. I like them with the top up, but I did not like them with the top down. And here you can see when they dropped the top on these, it just sat on the back haunches. It didn't go into a trunk space or disappear. It just sat on the back of the car. And I just didn't like the I love the car, but I did not like the look of it top down because you just got this. It's kind of like some of the early SCs. You've got this giant Porsche SCs 911. You got this giant top sitting on the back of the car. It's like, can you not just put it somewhere to see it because it kind of kills the lines. But
I completely agree. I did find, though, that when I would see this and the top was down, it looked a lot better with four good-looking girls in it.
yeah, I will absolutely. And it had the very interesting. It really was a hatchback. If you look at the picture here, this little piece actually lifted up, so it's a little more useful. You could get into the back there, but
Yeah,
all right.
it's a lot of compromises. My last one is
Oh,
this is a
oh,
2026 Porsche GT3 SC.
s-
A lot of people, one thing I like about it is that so many Porsche people think it's sacrilege.
so
GT3 is
tell more people, listeners that aren't Porsche. I know all about this car. Tell them really what this car is and why people are kind of up in arms.
Yeah, I mean, the Porsche 911 GT3 was introduced in the early 2000s, and it's supposed to be a track car. And then around 2000 and probably 16, about 10 years ago, they came out with a GT3 Touring, which is you get the track car, but it doesn't have a big wing on it. So you can drive it on the road. It's supposed to be for the road, but all those cars, this is like super expensive. This thing starts at around 260,
Yeah.
270, and it's supposed to be a full driver car. That means either you're focused on driving because you're on the track or you're focused on driving because you're on the road. The idea that you have a convertible version is sacrilegious to a lot of people. I love it. I love the idea that you can have a car that drives that well, manual only. You cannot get an automatic transmission in this car. And you have the option to put the top down. I absolutely love it. If you're in Orange County, California, or you're, in Miami Beach or something, it looks beautiful now. Is it a poser car that people are going to just cruise in Miami or Palm Beach or something like that, or Beverly Hills? I guess so. But I love that it's absolutely no compromise driver enthusiast car, but gives you the option of a convertible. I love it.
So which what I really find fascinating about this is they took components of the ST, which is what people thought was the ultimate Porsche ever made. So this thing's got carbon fiber fenders, carbon fiber hood, and we're not sure exactly, but it is close to or weighs less than the hardtop version, the coupe version. But you get a lot of ST features, which is the ultimate Porsche GT car. You get the touring features, and then not only that, like you said, Steve, it's as stiff as the regular car with a roof,
Right,
but you get the bonus of a convertible. So if you had, if you just were going to buy the one, you could only afford one ultimate Porsche to cover all your desires. This is the car. It's, the Speedster is a pain in the ass with the top. It is not great, but this is a convertible. It's a trackable car. It's a street car. It's got all the performance you could ever desire. I really believe that they're going to sell these things, a ton of these. I think it's the ultimate Porsche GT car. Absolutely. I just think it's
yeah.
I if I could have this if I had this kind of money and could buy my one Porsche, this would be it hands down for me.
Well, I guarantee you, everyone who gets an allocation for this is not going to be their one Porsche. It's going to be their
Yeah.
10th, 11th, their
Yes.
20th.
Yeah. I know. But
All
it's
right,
gorgeous.
drama surgeon safety.
All right, trauma surgeon safety. So, let me here we go. I am going to talk about kind of blend in my experience today. Let me get this up here. Let me do my screen share. So today, as I was talking about, I loaded up my Cobra into this, my friend's Ed, who I've talked about. Ed's a huge car. He's got the 427 Galaxy. He's got three of those cars. But this is his trailer. And this is a 24-foot Featherlight trailer that weighs about 3,500 pounds. The Cobra just barely, I mean, I had like 10 feet of room on each end in this trailer, but I had to trailer the Cobra to Birmingham pulling this. So the trailer is 3,500 pounds. The Cobra is probably 2,300 pounds. I don't even know how many I don't even know how many feet long I was combined. Probably, I don't know, over 40 feet. This is a lot of vehicle to be towing down the road. Made me a little bit nervous. I've done a lot of trailering, but a little bit nervous. So it got me thinking. I was going down the interstate and I'm like, okay, do I use or do I not use adaptive cruise control? And it got me thinking, is that going to be safer or not safer? So I want to talk about adaptive cruise control. So adaptive cruise control, if you don't have it in your car, it's where your car sees cars in front of you and will automatically slow your car down or speed up to keep you at the speed you're at. So if you've got your cruise control at 70 and the car in front of you is doing 65, your car does 65. And either you pass and go around, it speeds up. So I got thinking, what have they looked at with adaptive cruise control in passenger cars without trailers? And then what about cars with trailers or trucks like me that trailing down the road? Well, we know the studies show that generally this is not statistically significant data, but it's trending data that number one, if people that use adaptive cruise control don't, well, wife calls tailgate NASCAR style or get in the draft, it shows that it's smoother accelerating and braking than if the driver's doing it. It does reduce driver workload, meaning you don't have to be constantly on the gas, on the brakes, blending in and out of traffic. But it also shows that some drivers become less attentive when they've got the adaptive cruise, meaning they're paying less attention. So that kind of happens when you've got your cruise control, you're on a wide open interstate, and you're set at 70. The next thing you know, you look down at your speedometer, you're doing 55 because you very slowly slow down to meet the car in front of you, and you're maintaining that distance. But there was no data on is it actually safer? Are there fewer crashes? But we do know that overall, the computer does a better job of driving behavior than the human driver. There's less tailgating, there's smoother slowing, traffic flows better when people are using adaptive cruise control because they're not speeding up, hitting the brakes. Then the people behind you have to hit their brakes. The car slows down slower. Now, the next question became in my truck, I've got a 2023 F-150, and my truck has what's called the tow technology package, which that means in when I plug in a trailer into my truck, it asks me if it's already not in the memory, it asks me to add the trailer to the memory. I have to program in it,
Wow.
the kind of trailer that it is, the weight of the trailer. My truck doesn't do it, but the 250 actually measures the weight on the hitch to tell you if you got a properly balanced trailer. I've got the Pro Backup Assist where you can just turn the dial and point the trailer where you want it to go and it goes. So it keeps a profile of the trailer. So I picked up the trailer today from my buddy Ed. He actually brought it over last night. We loaded everything up. And then before I left today, I sat in and I programmed in the profile of the trailer. So it automatically sets the brakes for the trailer and you can do a fine adjusting. And then you turn the vehicle knob. It's got a bunch of driving profiles. And when you first plug in the trailer, it switches it to tow driving profile, which means it uses engine brake. It turns on anti-sway. It turns on a lot of electric nannies that you want towing. And then the thing that I had to do that it does not automatically do, I think it should default to the furthest distance that it has. So you've got four choices for how close you follow a vehicle on the adaptive cruise control. I turned it to the maximum distance because I wanted plenty of time to brake. Now, the one thing that it does not do on the Ford Blue Cruise is the adaptive cruise control works and all the other, but it does not do hands-free. It does driving assist. So the Blue Cruise is on and keeps the truck in the lane, but you have to keep your hands on the wheel. So I did that and I set it to long distance. And what I'll tell you is going down the interstate, when you're towing a trailer this big, when you get passed by a semi truck, you get the bow wave and the trailer moves and you've got to readjust. Well, this allowed me to just get in the right-hand lane. I put the cruise control on 70, and I focused on the road ahead, staying in my lane. And then when I noticed it would slow down, because I was coming up behind a semi truck, I'd look, make sure it's clear that I'm getting in the left-hand lane, but I never got close to somebody that hit their brakes that I didn't have time to slow down. So I think I towed a lot without this package on my old truck. Adaptive cruise control and towing with a tow technology package to me is a huge safety factor. It made my drive much more relaxing. I felt safer, and I was towing, that new car in the back. Um, there's a lot of money in that rig between the trailer, my Cobra, and the truck. And you see people flying down interstate towing, but things can go from great to rapidly disastrous while towing. And I've had some experiences towing. So, a data set of one is not a data set. That's just a number of one. But my experience today, fabulous experience, hands off, hats off, I should say, to Jim Farley and the engineering crew at Ford for this very advanced tow technology package, which to me it was an easy drive to Birmingham, towing through traffic and everything with all the adaptive features that they have for towing. So hats off to Ford, and it made it a good experience today.
I think that what's happening is this is an example of how instead of going from no self-driving to every car is going to be full self-driving, that's not the way it's going to go. And self-driving tools are going to be integrated into our vehicles slowly but surely in a sequential step-by-step fashion as the technology matures. And this is a great example. You had your old F-150 for a long time, had none of this. Now you have your new one, it's got all of this, and it makes for a safer thing. And as we'll get to full self-driving, we'll get to autonomous vehicles, but it's nice to see this along the way.
So, we all worry about our data, but part of having Ford Blue Cruise is you consent to them getting your data. So what that means is when you're in one of these driving modes and you take over the vehicle, they're analyzing the data saying, why did you take over the vehicle? What did the vehicle not do properly? What did the vehicle not do that you had to take control? But Ford is, when I first got my truck, I didn't have hands free. Over time, the software has evolved and they keep adding more and more features. But what I like about what Ford has done is they had all this technology. They didn't just throw it out to the consumer. They put out pieces, various versions of the software, testing it to make sure that they were not releasing what I would call beta software. They were releasing finished product that they felt perfectly safe was not in a beta mode.
Plus, that they use that data for machine learning for the,
Yeah,
so that they use the data to inform their updates as they go. Oh, by the way, they want your data because they don't want you to say, I was on Blue Cruise and it crashed into the back of a truck, and then they have no way to disprove that.
right.
Now, if you say I had Blue Cruise on and it crashed into the back of a truck, they can look at the data and say, no, you disabled it 30 seconds before you crashed
Before you
into the
crash.
truck. It was fully in your hands and in your control. It
Right,
wasn't the Blue Cruise.
right. So, but
All right.
hats off once again for it. Loved it. It was a good
I
experience.
think this kind of thing we're going to see more and more of, and I think it's really great. All right, car spotting. I had car spotting, and I went down to visit my son Patrick and his wife, and they're in tech and they live in Silicon Valley, and they're so into tech. It's amazing. But one thing I noticed, there's a town called Atherton. Atherton has it's the richest zip code in America. It's one of the richest
Wow.
zip codes in the world. And we walked around a few neighborhoods, and we know we've got Facebook and Apple and now Anthropic and ChatGPT or OpenAI. All these companies are raking in money through your phone or through your computer, mostly your phone. These companies are Google. So much money is flowing into Silicon Valley. And this is where these people that have all this money are living. And Atherton, you walk through a neighborhood and it seems like every third or fourth house is being redone into something spectacularly huge. You can just feel all the money there as they redo these neighborhoods. And of course, you see beautiful cars. I saw Range Rovers and lots of Porsche 911s, Aston Martins, lots of Bentleys, lots of Rolls Royces. So it's just an incredible place. They happen to have a Ferrari dealer. So I stopped in. I was not expecting this. This is the Ferrari 288. This is 1988 Ferrari 288 GTO. It's based on the 308, which was the Magnum PI car. Ferrari says this is the first supercar ever, has a 2.8 liter, 400 horsepower, twin turbo V8. It's an incredible, incredible car. Someone told me that they went to a tour and some Ferrari something or other, and they said it was the first supercar ever. And of course, anyone who knows anything knows that's the Lamborghini Miura. But anyway,
Right.
whatever. We talked about supercars, Stefan. This is probably 3 years ago. And I said, this is my favorite supercar. And it is my favorite supercar. It's understated, but it's absolutely spectacular. This was an incredible performance machine back in the 80s, and it is getting its due. They made 272 of these worldwide. This is a performance car that's understated, beautiful, of a period, and these things are getting their due. This is listed by it now. It was for sale, and the first person who shows up with $8.9 million gets it. Can you believe that? And one sold on
$8.9 million. Holy
Bring a
mackerel.
trailer just had their 250,000th auction, and they picked this as the car. It's a car that looks just like this and went for
Wow.
6.9 million. But I think if you bought this for 8.9 million, I think in 20 years it's going to be worth $20 million. That's how special this car is.
Wow. I think it's so cool. It's got the four CB style fog lights, driving lights in the front, and it's got pop-up headlights. I just think pop-up headlights are so cool.
Yeah, they made the original GTO, the GTO from the early '60s. That they made 36. So this will never be that valuable because they made 272 of this versus the wonderful 250 GTO from the 1962 and 63. But again, this is going to be really valuable. I think it. I think it's always going to be. overshadowed by the car that came a little bit later, which was the McLaren F1. But I don't think it's going to be much overshadowed. I would take this over McLaren F1.
I would have to agree with you that this is just way sexier than the McLaren F1, and it's got the yellow horse on it. I know
There you
that McLaren F1 is probably one of the most coveted vehicles in the world. Everybody says it's the best driving, but to me, this has got more emotional appeal to it, the design and everything. The McLaren one F1 is so amazing. But it's kind of sterile. But this car, I mean, it's got three seats and all that. But this, I would, yeah, I would have to take this GTO over a McLaren F1. I have to go with you on that.
it's really, really wonderful and so exciting and absolutely a thrill to see. All right, let's move on. I know you got a rant, and one thing I wanted you to talk about, you know, being a trauma surgeon, the experiences you have had are incredible. Some of them very intense, some of them funny, some of them not funny, most of them not funny. But you know, I asked you to think about it, and you said you came up with one you didn't. I don't know what it is, but I'm really interested to hear this.
Yeah, so this is a story I'm going to tell, and one of these days I've got plenty of stories, and it's like I've been told, you could do a stand-up comedy routine, or at least do one of those story shows like on PBS. I'm not on NPR, but this story is titled Old Joe. Um,
Instead of this American life, it's this Alabama life.
this Alabama trauma life. So it was the usual late Friday night. I was on call at UAB and the trauma alert goes off. And, it's after dark. It's a weekend night. That means one thing. That means and it was a motor vehicle collision. So that meant there's going to be alcohol involved. And, so I'm like thinking, great, alcohol.
It's
And
kind
it's a
of funny
car wreck.
because if you think about it, you don't have old people because they don't drive at night usually, and you
Yeah.
don't have teenagers. You have teenagers, but not new drivers. And most middle-aged people are in bed or just had dinner
Yep.
watching TV. So
Yep.
who else is on the road?
Well, it gets a little more interesting. So this is a Bubba B squared Budweiser story. And when you get these trauma patients that come in, the first thing you're having to do is they're broke all the hell and there's a lot of physiologic disturbance going on. And you're trying to sort out what injuries that they have are causing them to not do well. And how do you fix or reverse those injuries temporarily with surgery or blood or whatever? Well, then as the aging population or population in America, you take this trauma patient and now you add in some very complicated medical issues. They have high blood pressure, they got heart disease, they got cankles, they're on blood thinners. And then it becomes kind of what I call the chaos theory that are they trying to die because of their body is already sick and you're really trying to help their body, the injuries aren't that bad, or is it both? So it became this chaos theory of trying to fix things. And then on occasion, you got the really bizarre trauma where they had an unusual surgical issue and they happened to then be in a wreck as well. Or they had a surgical issue that caused them to wreck, like piece of intestine blew up while they were driving. That's happened before. Or they bled out somewhere from a cancer eating into an artery. Or you get my patient, old Joe, who came in, and old Joe had a laryngectomy, meaning they cut out his voice box from a head and neck cancer, and they cut out his esophagus and all that. So he's got a permanent tracheostomy with the metal tube in it. And he's one of those guys that has to hold, the vibrator up to his neck to talk. They call it an electrolarynx, but it's really just a vibrator. So they can talk. They vibrate, and you hear that talking. And he had a feeding tube, okay, because his esophagus was gone from all this cancer. So how was old Joe drinking beer, you think? He was pouring it down his G tube, okay?
The
And he
feeding
smoked his
tube that goes into his
into his
abdominal wall, into his
yeah, in his
stomach. He's
stomach. So he had a feeding tube right in his stomach. Well, yeah. So he's not only giving himself beer
yeah.
through his feeding tube, which he can't taste it, but he likes it, and then he's also a smoker through
Right.
his larynx. So, yeah, so of course he had a very rocky trauma course. I mean, rib fractures and abdominal surgery, and I get to the point where I'm thinking, what's Joe's life expectancy? What are we doing here?
How old was he?
Oh, he's probably like in his 70s. And I'm like thinking to myself, should we just let Joe die? I mean, because, he's already sick as hell. He's probably got some metastatic disease. He's got a feeding tube, but he's obviously still enjoying life, but he has no family. Nobody comes to claim the guy. Zero. So I got no, I don't know what to do. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna call the family doc. I'm gonna call his family doctor because I finally called his family doctor and said, hey, do we need to press on here? What's his life expectancy? We don't have all the medical records. He wasn't dead yet, but what we're gonna do, we'll do a full court press. Do I do CPR on this guy if he needs it? Well, as you expect, old Joe, man, he just the dude gets better. He's got a little brain injury,
Oh
but
yeah,
he's on the
absolutely.
floor and he's doing better. And he ends up going to rehab and he does fine. And I'm asking why? How? This dude defied all the odds. All the odds. He defied them all. He wasn't even healthy. But you know what? I'll never forget what the family doctor told me when I talked to him about old Joe. And he told me, don't worry about old Joe. He's going to be fine. He'll be all right. And you know what he told me? He said, don't worry about old Joe. He's too mean to die. And old Joe, this son of a bitch was too mean to die. His family, the family all left him because he was mean as shit. He had no friends. He was all alone. But he was happy. He poured beer down his G tube and smoked to his laryngectomy, and he had the vibrator to talk. And old Joe did just fine. Too mean to die, old Joe. So,
I love that.
that's a true story, man.
Louis C.K. has a bit where he talks about parents dying, and he said, one parent always dies first, and he says it's never the one you want because the one who dies is someone who's like, oh, I'm sick, I'll just go, I don't want to be a bother to anybody, and the one you don't want, the one you want to die, doesn't die because he's like, fuck you, and he's a dick and man or female, nasty, and doesn't have friends, and the family doesn't like him, and they're too mean to die. I'd never heard that expression,
Yeah,
but I
too
think it
mean to
fits.
die.
Louis
So
C.K.'s bit applies.
So we'd be in the trauma bay, and somebody would come in, and you just knew that they were a nasty person. Just they were not good for the karma of humanity, and we'd all just look at each other, get a little wink, and we say, "Don't worry, too mean to die." And and I swear to God, man, they were not too mean to die. They did better than your Bible thumping, sweet tea drinking Baptist, all day long.
All right, that's awesome. Well, thanks. By the way, as you think of these stories,
Yeah,
write them down,
yeah,
and we'll have a segment. We'll call it Trauma Surgeon Corner, or something like that. I don't know what the hell we'll call it. We'll just call it Stefan Stories. But
Stefan story.
I've never heard Too Mean to Die. I've known you a long time. I hadn't heard that one. I love it.
Yeah, too mean to die. Yep.
All right. That's a great story to end on. All right. Close this out.
All right, everybody, thanks for listening. Remember to hit the like and subscribe, and that goes to you, Ed. So Ed asked me today, how do I know when you get a new podcast? I said, where do you watch? He said, YouTube. I said, hit the like button, Ed, and subscribe. Then you'll get a notification that we've got a new one out because we're not doing the weekly. It tends to be about every 2 weeks. We got a couple good podcasts coming up. I'm going to have a new friend of mine who's a Cobra owner who is a PhD inventor who was in the trauma world. Oh, also, by the way, was an undercover narcotics officer in New Orleans with some crazy stories. So he'll be on the podcast here coming up shortly. So remember to hit like, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.